Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be continuing our look at the miniatures for Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone from our Talsorian Games and Monster Fight Club. Now, this particular set is going to be the Lawmen, basically any kind of organization in Cyberpunk that is law enforcement of some kind. There is also a fun little Easter egg with this particular set, and I'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. But it is the set retails for $50, comes with 6 miniatures, and everything that you need in order to play this particular faction in a game of Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. Now, before we get started, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, and whether it's miniatures, board games, role-playing, or anything in between, whether it's the live streams we do, talking about different games, I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. So our first miniature is Maximum Mike. Now, if you are not familiar with Cyberpunk, this is actually a callback to the creator himself, Mike Pondsmith. From the art, from the miniature, I think they actually caught a pretty good representation of him. And overall, the model is pretty good. I think there's a couple issues in the raised hand that's holding the badge. Some of the fingers don't quite look right. But in this particular case, this is a one-piece model. No assembly is required. For all of the miniatures in this, you will see that they are on custom 3D printed bases. I chose those instead of the ones that come with the models just because I like them a little bit better. Pre does the work for me as far as basing the models. They are a little bit smaller, but in my case, I'm not too worried about it because all of my models are on these smaller bases. I have all the factions, so I'm not worried about it. But overall, there's some good detail on the model, the cybernetics on the face, the body cam on the chest. Overall, it's a good-looking model, some good details, and I think it was a fun addition to the game to actually include the creator. So, honestly, not a whole lot to complain about here. Even the mold lines are actually pretty good. As I've said in previous videos, I don't do a whole lot of cleanup on the mold lines just because I don't. But this one actually works out pretty well. So that is Maximum Mike. Next up, we have the Canine Handler, which, if you ask me, the posing here essentially is him giving commands to the dog. This is another one-piece model, so all I had to do was put it onto a base. The mold lines are okay, but the detailing is pretty extensive. Very much an armored figure, as you can tell. Lots of pouches, lots of extra equipment put on top of him. But overall, he looks good. He looks very, very tactical, very, we'll say, aggressive, as is somewhat wont with law enforcement in the Cyberpunk universe. But again, lots of really, really good details that I think make the model look fantastic. The helmet, the sidearm, everything in my opinion looks really, really good on this model. I think I'm gonna really like painting this one up just because it's not gonna require a lot of colors, but there are a lot of details that hopefully I can pick them out and make them look right. So that is the Canine Handler. And of course, what would a canine handler be without a canine to go with? Now, in this particular case, we have a cybernetic canine. This one, I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed with. First off, I think the posing is a little too elevated. It's very much like, it's getting close to the height of the regular models as it is. Now I realize it's a canine unit. If anybody's familiar with videos of police dogs, obviously they are, going to be jumping up at people. But for this particular game, I would have liked something a little closer to the ground. Maybe something that just looks more like he's running or something. I don't know. Because he's not always going to be in base contact with an enemy model. So, I don't know. Personal choice. Overall, I think the detail is fine. I like the tactical vest. The legs are a little strange. I did just notice as he's spinning around that I do need to do a little bit of cleanup, although I'm not sure how well it will work between the legs. I might just have to leave it there, because essentially this was, again, another one-piece model that all I had to do was stick onto the base. So I'm not sure how well that will take to drilling out the plastic. I might just have to paint it black and just call it good. But overall, it's not a bad model. The cybernetic enhancements are interesting. I think they're just trying to make it a little bit more unique. Honestly, outside of the complaints I've already mentioned, it's fine. It's a dog. I'm not sure what else you expect. So that is the canine. All right, now obviously as a law enforcement unit being sent into a combat zone, you are going to need some additional firepower. So here we have the police sniper. This one is a little disappointing. You could see right there on the arm as it was coming around, the mold didn't quite line up properly, so a couple of the parts are out of position. There is obviously the noticeable mold line that is fairly common on the Cyberpunk Red miniatures. Overall, he looks okay. Some things look a little bit out of proportion. The belly area seems much larger than the torso or the chest area. So I want to like the miniature, and I'm not going to say it's a bad one, but there are different perspective things that just seem off, that kind of throw it for me. I'm okay with him being more, we'll call it at the ready, as opposed to being posed as if he's taking a shot. Especially for, another single piece mold. I think that makes it a little bit easier in that regard. So that I think is fine. There are still lots of fun details, the grenades, the pouches, things like that. Overall it's a decent model. There are just a few problems here that are going to be annoying, but not insurmountable. So that is the police sniper. Next up, we have the Tactical Response Officer. Of course, police are known for their riot shields and being able to operate behind them, especially if in Cyberpunk you're being sent into a combat zone. Being armored and carrying a shield is probably not a bad idea. Overall, it very much takes inspiration from the canine handler, and it's more like it's just taking that model and swapping out the arm and the head. This obviously had to come in multiple parts. I forget exactly what the parts were, but this was one of the easier ones to put together. So obviously it does hide the join areas a little bit better than you see in some of them. But overall, not too bad. Good detail, and I like it. He looks right, and he looks like he's going to be fun to paint up. So that is the Tactical Response Officer. Now, of course, we started the faction off with Maximum Mike, but what is any kind of a police response going to be without Sarge on the scene? So that's what we've got here. Obviously, it's more of just a head swap, taking the tactical response and the canine officer and giving him a sergeant's cap. So obviously, he's a little bit more vulnerable, but not too bad. Overall, the model looks really good. I like the classic police mustache, the classic eight corner, I believe. Yes, I mean the typical police officer's hat, but it's a good looking model. I like the blend of standard police uniform with tactical armor. So it's a great looking model, and definitely like this one. It is a single piece. Obviously, you can see the mold lines, but at this point, I'm just kind of repeating myself. So that is Sarge. All right, now as always, we are going to take a quick look at the cards that are included. First up, we have the specific scenario for the lawmen, which in this case, the lawmen are trying to prove their worth. The lawmen are the attacker, the defender gets some extra points, and also has to designate one of their models as the suspect. Now, this I think is actually kind of an interesting scenario because the attacking player actually wants to take this person alive. So they have extra actions to interrogate the enemy models, figure out which one is the suspect, and then the lawmen have to take out the suspect using a melee attack, and then that's how they will win. So again, getting the custom scenarios, getting different things with all the gangs has been interesting. They are also releasing additional scenarios on online, so they're definitely expanding out the game and doing a lot with it. But that is the lawman scenario. Looking at the particular unit cards, so we've got Maximum Mike, who has one available upgrade, which gives him increased skills. The canine handler gets an extra dice and some skill. The canine upgrades their dice and a skill. Police sniper increases dice and skills. Sarge increases armor and skill. And the tactical response officer actually has he has two upgrades. Man, how did all of that get out of order? There we go. So tactical response is going to see some upgrades and then changes to their skills. So those are the units. As always, each faction has their own objective cards. So in this case, end a game with 3 or more of your models fully within the rival's deployment zone. Take out a rival that has gear or loot that is equipped by looting a friendly model's body. So that's kind of fun. Stolen items. End a game without having any of your models taken out. End a game with all rivals wounded or taken out. So take out all the rival team's gonks. Take out a rival in a brawl where you outnumber them. And wounded leader. Which all of them seem to have that objective. Alright. For the gear cards, heavy pistol, SMG, breaching hammer, air hypo, cyberdeck, warrant. Oh, warrant's interesting. Declare one rival character. This model's attacks targeting that character gain accurate. Okay, so you get to designate a target. Basically, it's who the cops are after. Ride along. Bulletproof shield, IR goggles, tactical analysis matrix, grenades, restraints. Obviously all of them are. Some of them are repeats, some of them are new, some of all of them. Militech Enforcer full body conversion. That's aggressive, but again, all of them are appropriate for a lawmen team. Again, loot deck, which, as I've now gone through these definitely seem very much the same as the other loot decks. Sorry, I'm not going through all of them. Like I said, we're just quickly going through. And then our hacker programs, Armed and Dangerous, Eagle Eye, Lookout, Takedown, and Tango Down. So, that is the Lawmen. What did you think? Is this a faction you're looking at interesting? What did you think of the appearance by Mike Pondsmith? What about the models in general? Overall, as you can tell, I very much liked these. But I also have a tendency to go for armored, soldier types over gangers. But that's my particular taste. What's yours? Have you played this faction? Do you like it? Put it all down in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So, with all that out of the way, don't forget, affiliate links down below if you're interested in picking this up for yourself. But other than that, thank you so much for watching and appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next time.